Thank you, folks. As the credits roll, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for being a part of this. I first and foremost want to thank, I don't remember if I did it in my introduction, but need to emphasize again, especially after this film, our amazing partners who are, many of them are up there in the films and are doing the work. If you're inspired by these films, check out our partners and see what you can do, what more you can do. But now it gives me great pleasure to introduce, first and foremost, the director of the film, Joy Sela. Joy, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And you'll recognize him from the film. Please welcome Osama Iliwat. Osama, thank you so much. These applause are for you, Osama. Thank you both so much. Thank you for this beautiful film. I'm sure people are still even catching their breaths and processing. There's so much. It's intense. I know it was 100 minutes, but I'm sure it could have been a lot longer. And there are so many beautiful, beautiful moments there. Maybe we can start by Joy telling us a little bit about where this started for you. But also, I'm curious how this film changed, how this film evolved.
Sure. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. I just want to first acknowledge and thank some of the people in this room. Actually, we have, if you work on this film or worked on it, can you please stand up? Event part of Impact and Shira, you can stand up. Thank you, guys. Thank you. So, what was the question? I'm sorry.
Where did this start and how did it evolve?
Yeah, so it really started with me wanting to understand myself more deeply in my other, in my homeland. And it was through the relationship of connecting and understanding the other that I actually got to know myself. So I went through the same process as the interview subjects, but I grew up in a very Zionist, Israeli, Jewish, American, and Israeli home. And I only got to know one side and one narrative and one people. And then when I started making this, my whole system changed.
There we go. We're back. We're back.
Thank you. Yeah, my whole belief system got turned upside down, and I went on a journey that I didn't really know what I was making. I just went along, and it continued to evolve, and I thought I would be there in Israel, Palestine for a summer, and a year and a half, I never left, and I just filmed straight. And we continued filming. Somehow I found myself, that was all pre-COVID, and then I found myself back in 2021 during the Gaza war filming. And then we, of course, went back to film post-October 7th. So it was more my own journey of wanting to understand. And then I was documenting the experience of those that had been through that and kind of going through that with them. So it was more my own journey of learning than I just took the camera.
Thank you. Osama, I first of all want to acknowledge how grateful we are that you're here with us. I'm sure it's not, you're here at the Jewish Community Center, and I'm sure, unfortunately, it's not easy. But maybe you could share a little bit about why it's important for you to be here.
Thank you. First, I want to thank you for having me, the Jewish Community Center. And I want to thank you for coming. Really, it touched me to see people really care about us. Because for a second, I felt we are not a human being. We are not counted. Especially when there are Jewish people here, allowing themselves to listen to the pain of the other side, no matter if we agree or not, if it's right or wrong. Just allowing yourself to listen to the pain of the others is a big level of humanity for me. So thank you again for coming. Why it's important to me to be here? Because I wanna make sure and re-say to the world that I'm not here as a Palestinian, I'm not here as a victim. I'm here as a human. And I'm here to tell you that Jews and Judaism are not my enemy. And occupation has nothing to do with Judaism. And being against occupation has nothing to do with anti-Semitism. And to tell the Jewish people, don't allow this system to keep using your name. Massacring people every day, here and there. It's not 7th of October. I said it's a big crime already because I can't talk about the crimes and not commit my own crime. To talk about other people's crimes, we are all good in this. But to look at the mirror and see what we have done, no one is willing to do this. Yeah, Jewish people, what I learned about them at the beginning when I was a kid, that they are the enemies and they are scary, and I grew up with a lot of fears. And when somehow I succeeded to meet them, not at work, not as a slave, not as a worker, but to meet them as a human, same level, I learned by them a lot. I healed with them. And I was wondering why this country always showed me the other face. Why they always showed me how powerful they are, how much weapons they have, how much jails and checkpoints they can create in my life, and they never created one place for us to meet as human beings. And since then, I decided to change my narrative of fighting, because keep fighting over who's more victim than the other is just serving this circle of violence. It's just keeping us in this victimhood, any place where we don't see the pain of the others. And step back and look at the others as human beings, it was a big journey to me. The system always prevented me to go there. I didn't have permits to go to Israel. I am dangerous. And I sneaked every weekend to Tel Aviv, and I sneaked every weekend in the buses, taking risks, endangering my life to go and meet Israelis from inside. And I understood that they are not bad people. But the fears and the separation that this system is creating between us, that keeps us in this circle, and it's time to fight for everyone. Keep fighting here over who's right and who's wrong. I have seen here a lot of groups demonstrating for Palestine. Thank you. And other groups demonstrating for Israel without mentioning Palestine. Thank you. You are doing a lot. You are just adding separation to our separation. Yeah, that's the way. Thank you for helping us. You are fighting here over your egos and your beliefs, but you are not feeling our pain. Your fight here will not change our life. It will not give a starving kid food, because in the end you go to your fancy restaurants, your comfortable sofas, your warm houses, wearing kufiya or wearing siman ha-khatufim, and the khatufim is still there, and the hostage is still there, and the Palestinian hostage is still there, and the kids still terrified and dying and getting trauma. And who's gonna win this war in the end? Even the winner side gonna suffer from trauma for the next 5 generations. And it's so sad, and that's why I'm here. I'm here to tell you, enough. We are in 2024, not 17th century anymore. what did we learn from history? Yeah.
Thank you. Joy, I want to jump into the process a little bit and find out from you maybe I would like to know how you made your decisions of what to include in the film, but also what not to include in the film. And were there things that you couldn't include?
Yeah, so this was painstaking and it took years, and I was kept up at night by these decisions, and people in the film, and like Osama and others, were guiding and involved in that process. And things that I can never touch every trigger or wound or part of the history or narrative, and I can never fully please everyone, but I really tried to acknowledge as much as I could, because I found that when your wounds are seen and your narrative is heard, then you can disarm and listen to the other side and actually humanize and start to learn something different. So I tried to touch on as many things as I could, but I remember we struggled, and I wanted to do more with Hamas in the violence section, and I just kept getting a lot of resistance, and it didn't work, and I always listened to that guiding, whether it would work or not and what I felt, but I just kept getting pushed back, and then that was before I knew what would happen post October 7th. So, there were things like that, but Osama was actually very helpful in figuring out, the issues that we needed to make sure that we touched on, for the Palestinian side. And I think just immersing into this world with these people and living this life allowed me to more authentically decide how to share and what to share too. Like, I didn't rush through it.
For sure. And that's very clear in the film, but this is really, the research was done in many ways. I want also, Osama, maybe you could tell us a little bit about Salt of the Earth, the organization you're working with now.
Yeah, thank you. So, since 7th of October, and this year especially, because I know both people who are living there, or the two people who are living on the ground. I lived in their houses. I practiced their cultures. I feel I'm part of everyone, and I felt I'm feeling the pain of everyone. Before, it was easy to be one-sided. It was easy to be Palestinian and to feel relieved when the enemies get hurt. Because, we are fighters, we're going to keep fighting, and we're still hurting them. But now my pain was double, because I don't know which pain I can celebrate. The pain of the mother who's burying her child as a soldier who was serving a system when he's 18 years old, or the other mother her son grew up in a refugee camp under full armed soldiers' control and want to resist. Who's right and who's wrong? So I decided to find a different way and to leave the right and the wrong to the smart people and to find the field between right and wrong. So I started with my friend and brother Rotem. He's here. Rotem, let us see you. Yeah, so we went to Germany and we started giving talks to educate people about what's going on our land, and to tell them there are steps should happen, and without these steps we will keep killing each other. And you Germans support Israel. We know, we understand your guilt, and you should feel guilty for what happened to the Jewish people under your hands and by your country and by your army. But this is not the way to protect the Jewish people. You are just adding more hate in the Middle East and endangering the existence of the Jewish people in the Middle East, and that's not what we want. We don't want your weapons. We don't want your hate. If you want to support us by maybe send therapists to us because we all traumatized. You know?
We're actually going to get to questions afterwards from the audience, but thank you.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that too.
And I felt we need to educate them that we Israelis and Palestinians can find way to live together. And we know the way, and we know what should happen to make change. And the change should start by recognizing and acknowledging the stories and the histories and the narratives of each other. It doesn't, and in our land, we are so scared to acknowledge the narrative of the other side because it endangers your story. So yeah, we decided to talk, to keep talking because we couldn't sit silent and just eat and live normal life while our peoples, the people who we love, the people who we live with, killing each other without knowing each other. They never seen each other. They just were told they are the enemies of each other. So we started giving talks and we tried to give name to this. Two individuals who decided to go and talk who we are. We are not stars, we are not organizations, we are not NGOs, we are just two individuals. So we called ourselves salt of the earth. We called ourselves salt of the earth because we are from the land. Because when we sweat the salt of the land. When we walk together in the desert, when we sleep in the Dead Sea area, we sleep on the salt of the land, and we grow up in the salt of the land, and we are the salt of the earth, and we need to share it as it is. We are sharing it in a different way. I learned when I was a kid that إحنا ملح الأرض. We are the salt of the earth as Palestinians. And when I started to meet Israelis, I started to hear it in Hebrew. אנחנו ملח הארץ. So yeah, we decided to do, we are the salt of the earth. Let's turn the me to we. Yeah, and that's how we started. We did 6 months of talks in Germany, even though we thought we were going to stay there 2 weeks. And we went back to the land 4 months. We felt useless. No one is willing to listen. No one, the amount of the anger and the hate and disappointment is blocking everyone, both sides. So we decided to come here to the States because we believe United States have a big role in what's happened in our land. Because we believe they can also stop it and prevent it. Because I believe we are sacrificing our kids to protect the interests of many states in this world, in the Middle East. And these people have to understand they are complicit and they are part of the system. Not because they are living here only, but because they keep educating us all the time how many people were killed in the Second World War, right? And how many Jews were killed by the Germans, which is right, which is everyone should be educated about this. But they never educate us about how many people were silent during this, and that's what makes it happen. And we are here to tell people, if you see what's going on, if you see children are dying on both sides, and you are silent, your silence is part of the violence.
Thank you. Folks, I want to make you a part of this conversation, and I want to do this really in a respectful way. So we have a microphone, and we're happy to take a couple of questions and make you a part. In the meantime, I'll just ask, what's next for the film? Joy, where does this go? What do people do? Everybody got their branded tote bag.
Yes,
what's the movement about?
Yeah. So if you want to sign up for the newsletter on the website, we are working on distribution right now. I can't share the date, but we will be back in New York in January. Yes. So if you sign up, we can we'll announce that through the newsletter.
Great. We're happy to take your questions and comments, and we're going to start right here. Just use the microphone, please, ma'am.
Hi. This was an incredible film. You did a wonderful job. What about, I'd love to see as many people as possible see this film. How are we going to do that?
I'm working on it, and if you have any ideas, you come and talk to me. I'm a first-time filmmaker. I'm figuring it out as I go. We have wonderful, incredible partners that are actually sitting in the front row here, incredible organizations supporting us, and I'm just working towards getting this out there. Thank you.
There's a question there in the middle.
Thank you so much for bringing all of these voices from the ground here. Osama, you were talking about the complicity in the U.S. We're all here, we're all interested, we all want to be in solidarity with Israelis and Palestinians standing together for a future. What does that space look like? What do Palestinians, what do Israeli needs from us who live in the U.S., who are connected with our communities here? How can we be more supportive? And thank you also.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you for this question. It's very important. I think what you in the U.S. can do. First, the first thing I want to ask the U.S. people, why it's very difficult to you to understand that we don't need your weapons. Yeah. Why you spreading weapons all around the world and you still don't have health care? You don't have free education. You take loans from the bank to sell. You have the biggest amount of homeless on earth. And you sending your taxes to support our conflicts. All what we are asking you, if you can't support our peace, don't support our wars. We are asking you to take responsibility, to do what you can do. Maybe educate yourself, first of all, about what's going on, because I feel people here are confused who's right and who's wrong, and who's more victim than the other. And, people are asking me where we can get information. Information of what? You don't hear that 18,000 children were killed? You are not the ones who's lecturing us every day in the morning and the evening about human rights and children rights and women rights and environment rights and all the rights, giving talks to the world about this. And suddenly all the rights are not there anymore, and you win the world. And Israelis are demonstrating in Tel Aviv because their children are in tunnels dying. United States raising veto to prevent ceasefire and raising veto to prevent the international law. And what you want from us? Yeah, so do educate yourself. Educate yourself about what's going on. Read a little bit about that we Israelis and Palestinians living in a situation keeps us enemy, and these countries are supporting it. And you can do what you can do. If you are a teacher, educate your students. If you are a mother, educate your kids. Not about who's the victim. Educate the Palestinian side and educate the Israeli side that when you keep fighting each other, guys, it's right for you. It's not right for us. I would love to see you standing together, demonstrating together, raising. I would love to see the Palestinians raising the pictures of the Israeli hostages and the Israelis raising the pictures of the Palestinian hostages. Be human. That's what I'm asking for. Yeah. And I don't say this because I feel it's the same. Yeah, what happened in Gaza is catastrophic, and I don't want to talk about it. And not only in Gaza, in West Bank. And I don't want to talk about the situation about the Palestinian prisoners who are starving, dying, tortured to death. Because what are they going to win? I don't want to be a victim. I want to be happy. I want to live free. That's what I care about. And yeah, and just you, what I want from you is to support the power of love over the love of the power. Thank you.
It's getting late. We have to think about that one a little bit. We're going to have time for one last question over here. Yeah, you could wait for the microphone, please.
I just wanted to say that I agree with you, and a few of us were very, very concerned about the mental and emotional state of both the Arabs and Israelis in the Middle East. And because PTSD is so prevalent there and everyone has it so much, we've started a training program for clinicians to learn treatments that will help people with PTSD. And I'm just sharing this with you so you know about it, and it is being sponsored by Hebrew University under the auspices of Jonathan Hubbard, who's the clinical chair of psychology there. And so far, 350 clinicians have been trained, and we have another 700 in waiting to be trained in these evidence-based treatments. And they are both in Arabic and in Hebrew and in many other languages, so the therapists can have that. And so I care deeply about can't change what happened, but I can try and help the suffering of the people there. And so those treatments are being disseminated throughout all the Chupat Cholim in Israel and throughout all the clinics there, and I just wanted you to know that.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
What should everybody be doing right now? What's next?
I just want to say something. First, thank you for the work. And as a I'm not a trauma specialist, but I learned when I was in a journey to be aware of my traumas and to admit it and to acknowledge it, that you can't heal trauma while it's happening every day. Yeah, it's not post-trauma yet. And so in order to heal it, we need to stop the reasons of the trauma. That's the real work we need to do. And one of the reasons of the trauma, we practice it sometimes without being aware. And I don't want you to think that you are not aware of it, but it's the language. You said Arabs and Israelis. You didn't say Palestinians and Israelis, because that's what the country started from the beginning. They don't want to call us Palestinians. That's why they even erased the language of the Arab Jews who came to the country. They prevented them to speak Arabic, and none of them speaking Arabic today because they did not want any connection between the Arabs and the Jews. And after this, they called us Arabs, not Palestinians, because when we are Arab, there is no concept to our resistance. But when we are Palestinians, we are human beings who were occupied and expelled, and we are asking for acknowledgement. And acknowledgement doesn't mean you don't have the right to exist.
I'm sorry, ma'am. Ma'am, I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Ma'am, I'm going to keep interrupting you because we're going to do this in a in a civil way. We'll pass you a microphone when you
thank
want to
you.
speak. Joy, any call for action for our audience? What should people be doing next?
I mean, just showing up and just support the people on the ground, and if you just sign up for our newsletter, and we're hoping to continue to share this. And when we have distribution, we'd love you to tell your friends about it, so as many people can hear the voices of the people living this reality, like Osama and many more, rather than, as Osama said, we're removed and making all these assumptions and speaking for them. So just trying to platform the people living this. So.
I want to give a huge thank you for both of you for being here. Obviously, this is just the beginning of the conversation. We're going to be here all week with many different perspectives on this. And please tell your friends, try to hear things that are out of your comfort zone. Come back for more. And thank you very much for being here.
Thank you so much for
Thank
having
you.
us, Isaac.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming.